This is Jilliana Ranicar-Breese, and I'm back with Solihin for part 2. Go ahead, please.
You're just making me talk ad lib. Okay, so
No. Continue on from what you were talking about before in part 1.
Yes, we were talking about this sort of ontological idea of who we are and what we are. And as an osteopath, what we started to recognize was that when people came in, they were operating from what we might call different levels of being. Now, this certainly gets into existential thoughts and ideas of, what does that really mean? But what it means is that there are different levels of being, of consciousness, if you like, and that people come in with stuck in these particular states and they can't move upwards, if you like. So ontology is a hierarchical relationship in a horizontal dynamic. So it contains both sort of upward vertical dynamic as well as a horizontal. And most people sit in the horizontal. They're unable to move up in their feelings or in their emotions or in their doings or behavior, in their mind, in their spiritual nature. So they're stuck in these levels.
Well, usually something happens, like an accident or an epiphany.
Absolutely.
Yes. As happened to me and as happened to you.
You're quite correct. Yes, that's right. You pushed me into this one. My epiphany. Where was my epiphany? My epiphany, actually, I've had quite a few. I've been really.
Oh, I've only had 2. How many have you had?
I don't know. But anyway, I had one actually in Afghanistan where I was in a particular caravanserai up in the Hindu Kush, and very exotic, I have to say. And
did you have long hair? Were you a long-haired hippie?
I did have long hair. I did have a long beard, and it wasn't white. And I was looking out on this scene. I was in this sort of big courtyard, and there was donkeys and camels and men drinking tea and birds twittering and whatnot. And I suddenly had this extraordinary experience of melding into everything that I could see. I was part of this sort of one unified cellular, if you like, at a cellular level actually, because it was really somatic, and I became aware that I was part of all of this, and they were part of me. I can't really articulate it, but it was an extraordinary experience.
How long did it last?
Maybe a couple of minutes. I might exaggerate. I honestly don't know now.
And how did it change you?
Well, it just gave me the feeling that there was this bigger reality, this bigger something, and which is actually why I was in Afghanistan. I was trying to sort of wake up. As I articulated before, I don't know about soul searching, but I was, wondering who the hell I was. I didn't know.
How old were you?
This is a conjecture.
Well, roughly.
I think I was 22.
Yeah. Well, who knows who one is at 22?
Exactly, yes.
I first went abroad when I was 22.
Right. Well, I eventually came back to England and
reality.
And I I started a business. It was a trucking business with a friend, and during that time, learned how to
drive a truck,
bottle washer, engineer. CEO,
doesn't sound
someone
very
on
interesting.
The phone. I did everything.
9 to 5.
It was it was probably about a 7 till 11.
Oh, 7-11.
It was a really, really gutty job, but it was great because it taught me how to work. But during that time, I suppose the next epiphany was that I'd hurt my back. I went to see an osteopath, didn't know what an osteopath meant, and lying on this woman's table. And
well, why did you go to an osteopath as opposed to a doctor?
Because I'd hurt a rib. I'd put a rib out.
Oh,
and someone had said, go and see her.
Oh, okay.
So there was, good question. And so I'm on this table and she's rocking my body and then suddenly manipulates this rib and there's a clunk. And this little voice inside me said, this is what you should do. So that was the sort of epiphany of
the inner dialogue.
The inner dialogue of Solihin, come on, wake up.
Okay.
So it took me 2 years to actually get to the idea of...
Did you study in America?
No, I studied in England, at the British School of Osteopathy in London. But what happened was that I actually had joined a spiritual association called Subud.
Yeah.
And Subud is a worldwide organisation in about 80, possibly 90 countries. Very small organisation, but what its main emphasis is a sort of direct, we'll call it a hotline, but direct connection to the ultimate life force.
But where did it originate?
It originated from God, I would imagine.
In any particular country?
It was given to a chap in Indonesia who's Japanese.
Indonesia, okay.
In the 1930s.
Oh, as late as that, yeah. Okay.
And he was touched by this life force and made to spontaneously move and articulate voices and tongues and.
He was a channel.
He was, well, it's a difficult one because in a way it's almost as if your jiva, your soul, is woken up, and so your soul starts to, in a way, manipulate your physical body, your mind, your consciousness, and so it's an active form of worship, actually. So you're receiving and your body is spontaneously moving and moved by this spirit. So I've been in Subud for 47 years or something like that, and yes, so at that particular time I was feeling actually quite stuck. I was sort of again rather locked up, so I'd gone to see some what we call helpers, the people who'd done this. Subud has this process called the latter hand, which really means spiritual exercise, and so I went to see these guys and said, I'm having trouble feeling and receiving. So we did a sort of special latter hand for me. And I remember it was like an exorcism. I was sort of thrown around the room. My brand new trousers were split. I was sort of picking myself off the floor. And 2 days later, I got hit by a car. Now,
wow.
Was it serendipitous?
Not an Indonesian car.
Yes, did it really happen? I mean, had it got any connection? Well, the answer is
You were hit by a car, you weren't in the car.
No, I was hit by a car. I was actually a pedestrian next to my own truck on January the 1st, 1976.
Start to a new year.
Start my new year. And it put me into hospital, but it actually changed my entire life because, of course, I couldn't drive any longer. I was out of the job, and therefore I could go and apply to osteopathic school, which is what I did, and I thought I was going to do it. Jump over a year.
You were reborn.
I was reborn. They gave me carte blanche to come and do the.
Is that when you changed your name?
No, I changed my name. I changed my name, I think, when I met my wife, actually, or wife to be.
Okay. How did you meet her?
I met her at a party, actually, which I was putting on.
In England?
In England, and I was late for the party because I was still a truck driver.
A trucker! A trucker!
I was still a truck driver. An express truck.
Did you stop off at the driver's cafe?
Of course I did, I ate terrible food, ate lots of
greasy
bars.
spoons.
Oh, it was terrible. Coke and everything. I mean, it was terrible. But that was the way we had to do it because we were working, 9 to what did I say? 7 to 11.
7-11.
7-11. Anyway, where were we? Yes, I was. So I met her actually when I was still driving. That's right. And there was another epiphany. I walked into this house where this party that I ostensibly was giving late. Saw her talking to a friend of mine, and immediately this voice again, this inner dialogue said,
"This is the one.
This is the girl you're going to marry."
No, that's wonderful.
Yes, so,
what about her?
No, she didn't. She didn't have the same thing, but
amazing.
She felt very comfortable with me, and we courted for a year and a half, I guess, and we got married. So the accident happened, about 3 weeks before we got married. And so
that was a good time.
My life changed, which was really great.
Okay, well, we'll continue on in part 3. Thank you very much.